Before we begin, remember that everything you're about to hear is a fictional story. Do not repeat or attempt any violent or dangerous actions you may hear about. With that said, let's begin the story. We start by witnessing a legendary battle. On one side, we have our protagonist, the lion Everflame, questioning his very existence, being nothing more than his brother's shadow. On the opposing side are the Knights of Light, who are disappointed in Thalian's choices. It's intriguing how both brothers ended up on such different paths. The protagonist draws his cursed sword. Everyone sees him as the embodiment of evil. They call these warriors the Mist Assassins. These two fighters are moments away from ending each other's lives. Even though the protagonist chose the opposite side, he isn't evil. The Knight of Light activates a barrier of air, blocking his passage. Another knight enters the scene and is greeted with respect. The protagonist watches as his brother Askell arrives. The lion can't believe that his own brother is responsible for this devastation. Standing face to face, the lion questions his brother's actions. Askell coldly tells him that his service over the years has come to an end. He judges the lion solely for belonging to the opposing side. The lion is filled with rage. His own brother has sentenced him to death. Everything the lion has fought for his entire life alongside his brother means nothing. He won't allow this to stand, even if it costs him his life. The lion unleashes his most powerful form. He refuses to let his brother lead with misguided ideals. Everyone is shocked that the protagonist still has strength left. He charges at his brother with unparalleled fury, but another knight interrupts him. Taking advantage of the distraction, his brother drives his sacred sword into the lion, declaring that his younger brother has lost his way. Askell admits he's grateful he never trusted him. Then he leaves. The protagonist sees his end approaching, but he uses his last ounce of energy to strike back. Even so, his brother proves far superior. With one final blow, he ends Thalian's life. The protagonist wakes up from what seemed to be a nightmare. Emily is waking him from his nap. The lion is stunned to see her again. It's been 20 years since he last saw her. He wonders why he's seeing all this again. He touches his face and realizes he's young once more. Emily insists he get up because it's time to train. He doesn't remember what training she's talking about, but he heads to the training grounds. On his way, he wonders if this is what happens in the final seconds before leaving this world. When he arrives, everything comes rushing back to him. He's at the academy where he trained in his past life. He recalls that every year the duchy hosts a duel training event. His father, Duke William Everflame, owns the duchy, and his opponent for the upcoming duel is his half-brother. His stepmother, Margaret, is the duke's wife. She's a woman who only cared about her son, turning the lion into the laughingstock of everyone. He remembers this duel was pivotal in his past life. Even his own father disdained him for losing it, so this time he knows he must win. The lion realizes he's still as weak as he was back then. He pauses to reflect on what's happening. His life is truly flashing before his eyes. Maybe he can change the past. His half-brother approaches him, looking smug, waiting for the Duke's signal to attack. Kaylor doesn't hesitate and lunges at him, but he doesn't know his half-brother is far more experienced this time. The lion simply dodges his attacks. Kaylor keeps trying to land a hit, but the lion disarms him with one swift move. He could easily end the duel by pointing his blade at his brother's throat. His parents are shocked, but the lion doesn't think it's enough to stop there. In his past life, his brother constantly bullied him. Now he considers whether to return the favor. This time, the lion is determined to change things. From now on, they will respect him. The battle ends with Kaylor's defeat. It's so impressive that even his father takes time to acknowledge him. As he walks down the hallway with a knight, they encounter Margaret. She despises him for what he did to her son. The lion reflects on life's irony. She only cares about her own son, disregarding everyone else, calling him a bastard beggar who should be grateful. The term bastard refers to a child born out of wedlock. The insult offends him, but he stays silent. Margaret has crossed the line, though he knows exactly how to make her suffer, and he plans to do it slowly. He warns her to prepare her son for training, threatening her son's well-being. Margaret grows furious and tries to hit him, but the knight stops her. He reminds her that the Duke's orders are absolute. Frustrated, she has no choice but to accept it. The lion admires the knight's loyalty, even to the Duke's wife. His father awaits him. When the lion enters, he greets his father respectfully. Though he's his father, they've never been close. His father is a warrior known as the Guardian of the Continent. He's the one who defeated demons with his powers for many years. They sit down to discuss the duel. The Duke asks how he managed to dodge that attack so precisely. The Lion simply says it was practice. William thought his son disliked swordsmanship. He acknowledges Thalian's skills, but questions if what he did at the end was necessary. The Lion explains it was a test to prove he was superior, because that's how he sees the meaning of a duel. The Duke is impressed with his son's talent. He believes the Lion would be a good ally to the knight who killed him in his past life. The Lion resents his father's obsession with his older brother, but not everything is bad. The Duke offers him a reward, anything he wants. The Lion decides to destroy his past. He requests to join the front lines of battle. His nanny is shocked to hear this. It's far too dangerous. The map reveals the front line is a place where battles against demons have raged for years. His father vehemently opposes the decision, but sets a condition. To go, he must prove himself worthy. Determined, the Lion begins preparing to improve his physical condition. He's grateful to retain his combat instincts and a bit of magic, so he starts training immediately. But he's interrupted by his sister, Alice. She's upset about his request to their father. Worried for him, she drags him to the rooftop. She agrees to let him go to the front lines if he can last 3 minutes against her. Alice is determined, but the Lion is indifferent. She draws her sword and charges at him. He dodges her attack, surprising her. Alice is annoyed that she's going all out against a 10-year-old. She can't believe he dodged her strikes, but she smiles, ready to attack even harder. The Lion isn't sure if his strength will be enough. She launches multiple attacks and he dodges every single one. In one of her attacks, the protagonist surprises Alice with his resilience. A burst of energy flashes, pushing them both away from the clash. He's startled. He could have seriously hurt her if he hadn't moved his sword like that. He wants to know how much time is left of the 3 minutes. He's unsure if he can keep going. His strength is nearing its limit. On the other hand, Alice is ready to use 6-star magic to defeat him. The protagonist wonders if this is truly just a test. Alice refuses to lose. He knows defending against it will be risky, so he runs toward her, hoping his technique won't fail. Just as she's about to strike, the Duke's knight intervenes, stopping the dangerous attack. He reprimands Alice for her recklessness. The protagonist is grateful for his timely arrival. Alice apologizes for losing her temper. She explains she only wanted to stop him from going to the battlefield. He understands that's just like her. She always pushes herself too hard. He recalls how she excelled at the academy, becoming the best of the best. Not to mention how beautiful she was. They called her the child of God. He remembers she was chosen as a guardian of the continent, alongside his older brother Askel, but was eliminated shortly after. The Lion hugs her, silently vowing to protect her this time. She asks why Sir Kedrick is there, considering he'd left for the battlefield. Kedrick reveals his secret orders to protect the young master, though the protagonist already suspected his presence after speaking with his father. Alice finishes hugging her little brother. The night passes. The next day, Alice returns to the academy. 2 weeks later, the protagonist is working out. He wants to improve his physique, but his limit is 10 reps. He misses his old body. Emily informs the protagonist that he's received a package from his sister. It's the blood of a hellhound, which he had requested, a rare item obtained from the black market. Most people consider it poisonous due to its vile smell and burning taste, but in reality, it permanently boosts mana and strength for those who consume it. The false rumors have made people believe it's a myth, but the protagonist knows the truth from his experience. Emily seems a bit worried about him. He reassures her, saying he knows how it feels to take it. The first time was unpleasant. This time, it's more tolerable. The Lion steps outside to test if it worked. He's relieved Sir Kedrick Valthorn, the Duke's guardian knight, isn't around so he can train freely. He recalls how he used to visit this place to be alone. Walking through the area, he remembers how a divine revelation once granted his older brother his powers. It was said that the temple was hidden in these mountains. The protagonist feels he has an advantage because, at this moment, he's the only one who knows about it. The Lion breaks a piece of earth and notices a pathway. It's the entrance to the temple. He descends, noticing how different it looks compared to his previous life. Legend says this ancient temple served the god of light, Lumendal, until the earth was laid to ruin. During the war against the demon god 300 years ago, the lion is surprised that such a grand temple is hidden behind the castle. He continues downward, spotting a sacred sword blessed by Lumendal. We flash back to the year 999 before the kingdom's foundation, when humanity managed to expel the Demon King's army from Velias. The Demon King's army was far stronger than the humans, but they found ancient relics called god weapons. These relics were used to win the war. The sword before him was said to be the key to their victory. It was the same sword that ended the Demon King's life. This thought irritates the lion, so he focuses on what he truly came for. He notices what appears to be a shadow of the sword, but it's not. It's a hidden pathway beneath the altar of light. It leads to the sword from the protagonist's past life, the demonic sword. He picks it up, feeling nostalgic at its touch. Though it hasn't awakened yet, he's eager to wield it again. Suddenly, a shadowy figure speaks to him from the cave's darkness, declaring that his body now belongs to it. The figure approaches the protagonist, but he grabs it by the neck. He firmly states that the sword belongs to him, and nothing will change that. The shadow is shocked he can hold it by the neck. No mortal has ever done so. It attacks him, but he effortlessly dodges every strike. The shadow begins questioning who he is, visibly unsettled. It notices an aura resembling its master's. The protagonist declares that he is the successor and that it must now serve him. The shadow can't believe a mere child is giving such commands. It attacks again, aiming to take over the body of whoever wields the sword. But the protagonist won't let that happen. He summons a spell from the sword, knocking the shadow to the ground. He warns it one last time to accept him as its master. The shadow is enraged, but its efforts are futile. The protagonist continues to overpower it. It finally submits, acknowledging the human strength and calling him master. Realizing he's spent too much time there, the protagonist decides to leave. The shadow asks for his name, and if the master truly chose him as the successor. The lion confirms but adds that it happened in his past life. The shadow, named Kiram, is confused, not understanding what he means by past life. The protagonist approaches the sword and notices it needs 20 years to fully activate. So he breaks the sword's hilt, stating that it will make things far more interesting in the future. Time passes, and we find the protagonist in a carriage headed to the battlefield. The Duke asks once more if he's certain about his decision. The lion reaffirms his resolve. The Duke orders his guardian to open a magical scroll. It reveals they are summoning a lava hound. This is his father's test to prove his determination. Sir Kedrick recalls the protagonist's training request before the trial. He needed real combat, and who better than the Duke's guardian knight? After some convincing, he agreed, but only on the condition that Kedrick would focus on defense and not use his real sword. The protagonist instructed him not to reveal anything about the fight. The battle begins with a powerful attack. Kedrick is surprised by how fast he is. Though he manages to block it, he's impressed. The attack is an endless barrage of sword strikes. The protagonist knows he still can't win against him, so he decides to end the sparring match. Kedrick no longer sees the young master as weak and small. He knows he's grown stronger. Returning to the trial, the knight is confident the lion will defeat the lava hound. Meanwhile, in the battle, the hound charges with ferocious fury. The protagonist stands his ground. He launches a burst of earth magic, briefly halting the hound's advance. He realizes he still lacks the strength to truly compete. The lion uses a special attack to finish off the lava hound. Everyone is stunned by the level of skill the Duke's son possesses. William is proud of him. The protagonist feels it's a waste to spill so much blood, thinking it could fill many bottles instead. His father applauds his bravery, declaring that he is now ready to go to the front lines. Kiram whispers her disapproval of how he uses the sword, stating it needs blood to grow stronger. The lion reassures her, saying she'll have her fill soon enough. During the battle, they encounter an ogre in the northwest. The Duke orders its complete elimination. The knights gather and summon a sacred restraint spell, binding the demons with holy chains. They take advantage of the situation, attacking and defeating each one. The lion and Emily watch the battle from a distance. Emily is terrified to be there, but he feels a strange nostalgia, returning to this hellish place. His father asks him how it feels to be on the front lines, advising him never to let his guard down. The lion acknowledges this. He's well aware of how these battle systems operate, knights preventing demons from crossing their lines and so on. He is assigned to a tent at the back of the camp, one of the safest spots. With such disciplined guards nearby, the lion knows he won't be able to feed Kirim. Emily, hiding under blankets, shows how frightened she is. The lion suggests she could return home, but his nanny insists she can't leave him alone. She says she needs to stay and take care of him. So, she gets up when it's time to eat, forgetting the favor the lion had asked of her. He wonders if he should send her away for both their sakes. After a while, the lion plans to leave without raising suspicion. He places a rag doll in his bed in his absence. Emily wakes up and admires the protagonist's determination. As he sneaks out, he tells his nanny to keep it a secret. He needs to take advantage of the guard's shifts, strengthening the night watch to slip away. Using his mist assassin skills, he efficiently navigates the area. He encounters demonic creatures. It's the perfect place to feed Kirim. Kirim is thrilled and thirsty for blood. The lion unsheathes his cursed blade and uses it to eliminate the creatures. He unleashes the skill Fogstorm Blitz, wiping them all out. Drinking the blood of the beasts, he feels more alive than ever, deciding this will be his training method from now on. There are plenty of monsters to satisfy Kirim's hunger. Meanwhile, we see a royal carriage passing by. Inside is the Empire's royal princess. Observing how dangerous her surroundings look, her maid suggests turning back. The princess becomes slightly irritated, stating that despite the danger, she wants to assist her father on his tours. The nanny informs her that the youngest Everflame son is on the front lines. They are about the same age. The nanny suggests they should get along. The princess, slightly arrogant, shows no interest in meeting him and decides to take a nap. Before drifting off, she asks for the protagonist's name, Thalion Everflame. Back on the battlefield, the Duke ensures that all demons are eliminated. Afterward, he decides to return to camp. He asks his son how he feels being on the front lines. The lion tells his father he learns something new every day. The Duke is proud of how much the lion has endured, but he admits he has something to tell him. The protagonist is surprised by his father's kindness. He was never like this in his past life. When night falls, the protagonist trains by facing demons. This time, it's a death worm. The sword tries to take control, but the lion is aware of its tricks. Kirim informs him that the worm regenerates instantly and claims she only wants to help him. It's pointless to keep attacking it that way, despite all the time he's spent on the front lines. And all the blood he's spilled, it's not enough. So he decides to heed Kirim's advice. He releases the demon within his sword, and her attacks become noticeably fierce. Now the worm is in serious trouble. The lion uses his skill 8 petals, ending the demon's life. The Duke and his knights encounter the remains of slain hellhounds. They realize it happened recently, likely by another demon. Alarmed, they order the area to be inspected. William finds the sword marks strangely familiar. Sir Kedrick reports the worm's death. Everyone is confused. The Duke suspects it's the work of an organization. The lion recalls his union with Kirim, but he knows he cannot let her completely take over. Regretting having used so much power on a single monster, Kirim realizes he is no ordinary child. His appearance is merely superficial. His tactics and skills are those of an experienced warrior. She concludes he is a regressor. The protagonist, slightly disappointed, assumed she already knew. Kirim admits that killing the protagonist must have been difficult. She guesses it was done with the sacred sword, either by betrayal or during an epic duel. Kirim bets it was betrayal. She offers advice for his revenge, warning him not to fail again. Otherwise, she'll take him over completely. The protagonist strikes her, telling her he's no fool and that she should know her place. He's somewhat glad. She's the same as she was in his past life. As he returns to camp, he finds everyone in a state of alarm. The atmosphere is chaotic. Emily informs him that a high-level creature was spotted near the valley. He remembers it's the worm from last night. The lion becomes interested and asks for more information. Sir Kedrick interrupts to inform him he must see his father. The lion knows it's his fault. He couldn't clean up the scene because the knights arrived. He enters the Duke's tent, uncertain if his father knows what he did. William asks him to sit while the lion scrambles to think of excuses. His father is direct, asking about his actions last night and mentioning that the sword marks look familiar. The lion insists he was just sleeping. William admits it's hard to prove his suspicions. A child couldn't defeat such a demon. He concludes the great feat must have been done by the Mist organization. The lion grows curious about this organization. He learns it has existed for centuries, eliminating countless nobles under the guise of purification. They leave a dark mist wherever they go. This organization hadn't been seen in over 300 years. But last night, they saw that dark mist on the worm, the black mist of the god of darkness. The lion is surprised by how accurate his father's deductions are. William informs him that he will notify the Empire about this. The protagonist is relieved his father believed him. William also informs him that the Emperor, Valtherian Drakemantle, and his daughter, Celine Drakemantle, will visit. He has a favor to ask of him regarding their arrival. When the Emperor arrives, he is greeted with gratitude and respect. The Emperor tells him not to worry about formalities, they're old friends. At that moment, he notices William's son. The protagonist introduces himself to the Emperor. The favor was to present himself as the Duke's son and escort the Emperor's daughter. He remembers how, in his past life, he was always confined, watching them from afar. Valtherian introduces his daughter, the fifth princess of the Empire. Thalian's father had told him he would escort her for a day. His role was simply to accompany her and nothing more. The Emperor mentions that they will also see each other at the academy. The lion recalls that they only crossed paths a few times. The Emperor asks him to get along with her. Although the lion doesn't want to do it, he understands his father's intentions. The Duke and the Emperor want their families to get along. Only the lion knows why this is not a good idea, but he cannot refuse. He must obey. On their outing, the protagonist fulfills his mission, showing Celine the blood river. He explains that it flows across the entire valley, its color caused by beasts that die there, unable to fight. The mana decomposition gives the river its reddish hue. Celine is shocked by this disturbing information. The lion adds that despite this, people still drink from and bathe in the river. He advises her not to do the same. He also reveals that the river flows into the demon kingdom at its end. The lion finds her reaction amusing. Suddenly, a flash of light appears in the sky. It's the third sentinel post in the west, a signal that beasts are approaching. Immediately, the Duke orders the royals to be protected, and reinforcements sent to the combat zone. The Emperor reminds everyone that he didn't come for a sightseeing trip. He came to fight. They head to the Western Valley. Thalian's father asks him to accompany him. Celine is surprised to see that the lion can fight such beasts. She demands to be taken into battle. The lion reminds her that most people don't return from such fights. Celine doesn't care. With no other choice, the lion calls for Sir Kedrick. Celine becomes furious, feeling disrespected by his refusal to follow her orders. The lion, with a sinister glare, makes it clear that innocent lives would be lost because of her, and nothing she says will change that. He leaves her in the Guardian's care. In battle, everyone fights valiantly for victory, led by William and Valtherian. The Emperor reveals details about his past marriages. His first wife died, leaving him with his two eldest princesses. His second wife, a promising match, gave him 2 daughters as well. Celine, however, is the illegitimate child of his mistress. She became the strongest due to all the hatred she endured, excelling in her studies. Despite her accomplishments, she was cast out due to resentment from others. It is believed she died alone on an abandoned island, earning her the title of the Tragic Princess. Kiram asks if this is the same story Thalian's father told him in his past life. The lion confirms, noting that royal politics are often complicated. Meanwhile, they watch the Emperor defeat approaching monsters. His holy attacks are legendary, being an 8-star magic user. Both the lion and Kiram acknowledge his immense power. Later, the Duke and the Emperor share a conversation. Valtherian confesses that there have been troubling events in his empire. The number of noble assassinations has increased. The Duke asks if there's a pattern to these attacks. The Emperor reveals that all the deceased nobles were corrupt, noting that the black mist was present at every scene. William informs Valtherian about the events from the previous day. Both men agree the situation needs thorough investigation. Valtherian also confides that he cannot stand idly by, especially with a noble speaking ill of the 5th princess. The Duke agrees, finding such behavior unacceptable. The Emperor, worried for his daughter, asks the Duke to protect her if he's no longer around. The Duke accepts this responsibility with honor, promising nothing will happen to her. Night falls, accompanied by rain. The lion tells Emily about his day. Once again, he asks her to watch over the tent while he trains. Emily expresses concern because of the heavy rain. The lion turns to leave, but both are surprised to find the princess outside. Celine finds it odd that he's leaving at this hour. She insists on speaking with him. Emily is delighted. The princess's guards surround the tent, making it impossible for the lion to sneak out unnoticed. As Celine enters the tent, the protagonist demands to know the reason for her visit. The guards ask Emily to step out, and she imagines a budding romance, leaving in high spirits. Celine apologizes for her earlier recklessness. The lion also apologizes for being discourteous. She starts admiring him and asks about the academy they'll both attend. He interrupts her thoughts, bluntly stating that he won't be her friend. Celine notes his harshness but accepts it. As she leaves, she remarks that he's not like his brother Askell. The lion is shocked by her comment. He grabs her arm, demanding to know how she knows Askell. Celine explains that they met last year at the Royal Academy, where he advised her about her illegitimate status. The lion grows deeply concerned. He knows his brother well. Askell is a master manipulator. The lion can't believe his brother has already begun his schemes. He realizes it was Askell who devised a plan to destroy Celine. The lion is about to warn her, but Emily bursts into the tent, shouting for them to run. A beast destroys the tent with a single blow. Everyone panics at the sight. Emily screams in terror. The demon shows no mercy. Meanwhile, the Emperor and the Duke are informed by a guard about the situation. They rally their men to protect the camp. Valtherion wonders what such a creature is doing there. The lion watches as demonic worms and ogres swarm the camp. He knows something terrible has happened. These creatures usually dwell deep within the valley. He questions if this is his fault. Emily is relieved to see her young master alive. It was pure agility. He saved the princess in the nick of time. She knows a simple troll would never have killed him. Emily asks the princess if she's okay. Celine breaks into tears, blaming herself for the injured knights. The knights, despite their injuries, rise to encourage her. Before they can finish their heroic words, a troll strikes. The troll grabs a knight and lifts him. The lion approaches, and the troll tosses the knight aside. The protagonist knows he's the real target. He orders everyone to leave with the princess. The troll immediately attacks. The lion responds with remarkable agility, wondering why high-level beasts are drawn to him. Kiram explains that by drinking the blood of so many demonic souls, he reeks of blood which attracts them. Angered, the lion scolds her for not warning him. Kiram reminds him that she only wants to take over his body. Furious, the lion grips the sword tightly, knowing the ogre is no match for him. He leaps heroically, tearing the ogre's head off in one swift motion. Seeing this, he's tempted to drink the blood of such an advanced creature. Before he can do so, he spots a demonic dragon. Taking advantage of the moment, he activates his transformation and goes after the dragon. Meanwhile, the Duke and the Emperor, leading their armies, are busy eliminating ogres in their area. Both men are concerned for the princess's safety. The Duke, knowing his son can handle himself, remains composed. An Everflame must know how to survive. A knight informs him that the princess is safe. Celine arrives, desperate for them to help the protagonist. The Duke and the Emperor grow alarmed by her words. The Duke asks Emily for her account of what happened. Emily had never seen the Duke so serious. She explains that the protagonist stayed behind to ensure their escape. The knight accompanying them knows the area well and requests men to search for him. William refuses to send anyone after the lion, prioritizing the safety of the camp over his son. Everyone is shocked by his decision. The Duke made a leader's call to save as many lives as possible. When asked about his son, he acknowledges that the lion fulfilled his duty. Celine blames herself and swears she will never forgive herself if anything happens to him. Suddenly, everyone hears the roar of a beast in the distance. They see a dragon soaring above them. Celine spots the lion clinging to the dragon. Before continuing, let me tell you a bit about dragons. They are rare and noble creatures, ones that humans dare not approach due to their inferiority. It is considered an honor to even encounter such beings. Returning to the protagonist, he wonders why he had to fly right over them. Celine screams Thalion's name, revealing his location to everyone. Valtherion admires the dragon and questions why the lion is there. The Duke can only watch his son flying through the sky. Thalion's only intention was to drink the blood of this legendary beast. He hadn't anticipated such a scene. When the dragon appeared, the lion and his demonic sword found it irresistible, ignoring the other monsters entirely. Using his skills, he quickly disposed of the lesser beasts, focusing solely on the dragon. He notices it's not a fully grown dragon based on its size. The dragon responds with a fiery beam, seemingly playful but devastating in magnitude. The lion observes the sheer power he's facing. The dragon's beam scorches everything in its path. The lion finds himself atop the dragon, striking its eye with Kirim in a powerful attack. The dragon roars and shakes him off. As it prepares to take flight, the lion feels confident with the upper hand. He uses his 8 petals ability to slice off the dragon's tail. The cut is precise and swift. Though the lion falls to the ground, he realizes he's still unprepared for this level of combat. He stands face to face with the dragon. He takes flight to escape, but the lion leaps after it, refusing to let it go. This brings us back to the scene where everyone watches him. As he rises higher, the lion begins thinking of a way to escape the situation without revealing his powers. Kirim urges him to use her, but he explains why he cannot. Doing so would ensure he'd be burned at the stake. Kirim is furious, unsure of what to do. The Duke then uses his holy magic to save the lion. The lion is surprised to see that his father also possesses 8-star holy magic. He wonders if his father will use the sacred sword against the dragon, potentially harming him in the process. The guardian of the continent raises his sword and casts his spell. The dragon, sensing the danger, dodges as best it can. The protagonist is grateful but knows it won't last long. The sacred sword strikes the dragon, causing the lion to fall. He laments losing the meal he was so close to claiming. As he falls, Kirim insists he should fly, but he reminds her that he cannot. She panics, realizing the protagonist has no plan to save himself. However, the lion decides to land in the disgusting red waters of the river. He crashes into the river. Okay, guys, we'll stop here for today. We'll continue the story in the next video. This series will be made up of several short chapters. Still, if you want to keep reading, you'll find all the details in the comments below the pinned comment. If you enjoyed the video, a like and a good comment really help me a lot to keep bringing you more content. That said, greetings, take care, and see you next time.